Hi everyone, my name is Natalie. Today I wanted to have a little bit of a sit down and chat with you about some of my currently reading as well as some favorites and other related things. I think I'll try to do Chatty Sundays or something with a better name possibly in the long run once in a while, just to check in with currently reading stuff as well as some of my knitting and other things that I wanted to bring to your attention. So I think I'll start off with the currently reading section of this, and you can stick around for the rest if you are interested. So I did a autumn reading TBR last week, I think. I will leave a link to that below and in the cards as well. And so two of the books on that list I have started this week. So the nonfiction I've started is Mycophilia, Revelations from the Weird World of Mushrooms by Eugenia. I had read a section of this a few years ago already, and I started reading it from the start now, and I've been really enjoying it. I've definitely noticed that I know a lot about fungi and mushrooms now that I didn't when I first started reading this. So a lot of it is familiar territory. Things like the mushrooms being the fruiting body of a fungi was something that I didn't know about when I started reading this. But other things related to smells and the classification of fungi being almost closer to the animal kingdom than plants. And so things like that have been familiar territory, but I really like the fact that this book is heavily leaning towards the mushroom picking and the mushroom eating aspects. And because I love eating mushrooms, especially during this time of year, I have been really enjoying reading this, and I've been mostly reading this on my commute to and from work, so it's become my bus book this week. The other book that I have started reading this week from my autumn reading TBR is Witch Volume 1, which is created by Elisabetta Gnone, and the art direction is by two people whose name is in the back. The credit to the creators of this is not very clear, which is kind of disturbing in these volumes. The comic art direction is by Alessandro Barbucci and Canepa, and this is an Italian comic that I read as a teenager myself, and Yen Press re-released I think the entire series. I'm not entirely sure, but this is the first book in the first third of the series. So I think that the series is all divided into trilogies that are all connected, and this is part of the 12 Portals trilogy that starts off the series. The events of this starts around Halloween time, so it definitely feels like appropriate reading for this time of year, and it's really fun. I love the interactions within the friend group of these girls who have discovered that they have magical powers, and I also love the fact that the magical powers are related to nature elements. So they have powers from the elements such as water, air, fire, and earth. And one of the things I've definitely thought about in terms of, I mentioned this in my autumn TBR, that I've been feeling really drawn to fantasy lately, and series, but in particular I've been drawn to fantasy both in books as well as in TV shows, and I think I have felt particularly drawn to fantasy that have a strong nature element, because nature writing is also something I've been feeling very drawn to lately. And so this is definitely combining those things in a fun way, and also because they are teenagers, there's the coming of age aspects to the story that makes it fun and relatable and all of that. And I also feel like this is a good all ages type comic, so have been enjoying reading that. And then another book that wasn't on my autumn reading TBR, but that I have been reading recently is actually a manga, and that is Holik, that is created by Clamp. This is not the first volume, it is actually the first omnibus, because I think it is volume 1 to 3, yes, that is collected in this omnibus. And the entire series, I think, is 20 volumes. I think there is 7 omnibuses. Clamp is one of my favorite mangaka teams. It's been kind of a lifelong wish to read through their entire body of work, and they have a lot of things under their belt. They are a women-led team of mangakas, manga creators and illustrators, and so I love their style, I love their stories. They always have fantasy elements to them. Most of the fantasy is very much related to Japanese mythology, especially Holik. I've read I think the entire series before, but it was a long time ago, and I really wanted to collect these to have on my shelves as well. So I bought this last year, and for some reason I'm really bad at actually prioritizing reading comics that I buy. I always think that it will be a quick read, and then I don't end up actually getting to them. Because I think that I could read them anytime, and then I don't. So it is a very flawed logic, but I have really enjoyed reading through this, and I have passed the first volume. And yeah, I love Clamp. Holik is probably my favorite of their works, and they're really interesting because, so maybe I should say something about what this is about. It follows a man called Watanuki who sees spirits, and he is very much, he's sort of persecuted by them. He can't escape them, and the seeing is not a very passive thing. They end up being very involved in his life, and he finds it a great burden. But then he meets a woman called Yuko who owns a occult shop where she basically helps customers with various supernatural problems that they have, and she promises him the freedom of seeing these spirits in exchange of his services as a servant. And so he starts working for her, and the end goal is that he'll be free from seeing these spirits. And so we see them on various adventures and various cases really that they take on. So yeah, I really love this series. Yuko is one of my favorite female characters in manga and anime and all of that. So it's been really fun to reread these, and they all are also, a lot of Clamp's works are very much intertwined with each other. So if you've read several of them, you get a lot of the internal references to each of them. So I kind of want to start reading, what is the name of the other series? Tsubasa Chronicles of Tsubasa. And also I really want to start reading Cardcaptor Sakura, and we'll see if I continue just to read this on and move on to the other series afterwards, or if I start reading them simultaneously. We'll see. But I've been really enjoying reading manga for the first time in a long time. I've started reading it during the summer, and reread some other things as well. But yeah, so that is my physical stack is this. And then I'm also just finishing up the Saltkråkan by Astrid Lindgren. I've been listening to it as an audiobook. This is a book that follows a group of kids who live on an island together during the summers, and all of their various shenanigans on this island, and it's a very tight-knit community on the island. There's a lot of camaraderie and adventures and drama, all of the good things that you would expect from Astrid Lindgren's writing. But I love the atmosphere of this island. It is very much Swedish or Scandinavian summer vibes from this book. So pretty much what you would expect. When you think of Scandinavian summers, this type of book and setting is probably what you have in mind. And so I've been really enjoying that, and there's some really very colorful characters in this story. So I've been listening to that on audio, and I have less than half an hour left, so I will finish it today. And I wanted to prioritize listening to this and finishing it up because I wanted to move on to Lord of the Rings, which I also mentioned in my autumn reading TBR that I would like to listen to the Andy Serkis narration. So I'm finishing that one off today, and I want to move on to Lord of the Rings. However, I also mentioned in that video that I wanted to watch the Hobbit movies before starting my reread of Lord of the Rings, and I haven't done that yet, so I will do that starting today. I'm planning to watch the first Hobbit movie and then hopefully the second and third in the early parts of next week, so I can move on to my audiobook reread. Like I said, I don't really have high expectations, but I figure that I'm probably going to enjoy the atmosphere of them, even if they feel dragged out in terms of the story, because it is just a one book that is turned into three movies that are each almost 3 hours long. And the Hobbit book isn't my favorite. I definitely prefer Lord of the Rings, just because the stakes are so much higher, and I feel like they to me they feel more Hobbit centered, even though The Hobbit is called after Bilbo. So moving on from my reading, I also wanted to share with you my current knitting project. I have been really enjoying getting back into knitting when the days are getting colder, and I feel like there's something about handling wool in very warm weather that isn't very appealing to me personally. I thought I'd share with you the project that I'm currently working on. See if I can show you anything. This is my current project. I'm working on a pattern called Fridag sweater created by Aftenstrick. I will put a link to the pattern creator and the pattern in the description below. And this is just a cable knit sweater. I love cables, like you'd be able to see with the sweater that I'm wearing is the Wayne pullover by Sari Nordlund. I think it's the Wayne sweater that I knit, that I finished last year, and it's cold enough now that I can actually start wearing it because it's quite the warm sweater. So I only wear it when it's actually really cold outside. So I love knitting cables. It's probably my favorite type of knitting in general. I am knitting it in, let's see, Gällholts ullspinderi håndverksgarn. This is the yarn label. I don't know if you can tell, if you can see anything from this, but it's a really nice wool that I am trying for the first time. I'm looking forward to trying it out and seeing how it feels against my skin, because I'm actually really sensitive when it comes to wool. And even this, which is alpaca, is slightly too rough for me, but I think this will probably be slightly softer. It feels like it's going to be slightly softer, so we'll see. Lastly, I just wanted to mention some recent favorites, which I'm not going to make this very long, but I just wanted to mention some things that have been really fun lately and that you might be interested in as well. First up is kind of a specific one, and that is Förlagsdagarna in Sweden. So this is only Swedish related, so if you understand Swedish and you're interested in Swedish literature and sort of the contemporary things that are being published, I highly suggest that you check this out. It has already, so Förlagsdagarna is basically a digital event that they had 3 days of live of live presentations of contemporary publishing from this year, from various publishers and related to different genres of the Swedish literary scene. So on one day they had children's and young adult literature from the last year, and different publishers presenting their catalogs basically, or a selection of their catalogs, and some interviews and things like that. And then they had a similar setup on the next day for adult literature, and then the last day was translated literature or international literature. And I've been really enjoying watching these because you could either watch them live or watch them afterwards, and I have been catching up after the actual live events. So I mentioned before that I want to read more Swedish books, and this has been a fantastic tool for discovery of new titles, and I've been starting to create a list of titles that I want to check out, and obviously I'll share more with you when I've actually read the books. Then for me, a really big event that has happened this week is that NCT 127, which is one of my favorite bands, it's a Korean boy group. They released a new album finally, and I think they released it on Thursday, but it only appeared on Spotify on Friday, and so I've only listened through it once, but I am planning to listen to it much more today and the rest of the next few weeks, because whenever they release something new, I tend to be pretty much consistently listening to it every single day. That is how I process their new music, and I always feel like they create very addictive music. So the new album is called Two Baddies, and I am so excited for it. There's so many fantastic songs on the album. If you are into K-pop and you haven't already listened to their things, highly suggest checking them out. And also, if you enjoy their music, definitely also watch the things they have on YouTube, all of the content. They have so much things that they have prepared in relation to the release of the new albums. And if you are a K-pop fan, check their music out. I am certain you won't be sorry. So there's that. Lastly, I wanted to mention a YouTube favorite. So Bronte Swanwick, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I've been following her on Instagram for years, I think. It's been a really long time, and she shares all of her knitting there. And she recently joined YouTube. And her first video was about books. The second video that is very recent, is about knitting, her current things that she's working on. And so I think her videos are going to be kind of mixing things related to reading and knitting, and I think she mentioned a hobonichi related video as well. So if you like stationery and knitting and reading and all of those things, highly recommend checking her new YouTube channel out. I'm so happy that she has decided to start making videos. Like I said, I've always really enjoyed watching all of her projects on Instagram, and she's just a really comforting person to watch. I feel like I don't know what it is, but I felt like it was such a treat to sit down and hear her talk about various things in her videos. So I'm really looking forward to watching more of her things, and I highly suggest you go and check out her new YouTube channel out. I will leave a link to that in the description as well. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you in this Chatty Sunday video. I hope that it hasn't been too long, too chatty, but I feel like it's good to have these sit downs once in a while, to just being able to share various things in one go. Let me know what you are currently reading. Have you been reading anything autumn related recently? Have you started on your spooky reading or anything like that? What are some recent favorites of yours that you would like to share? I would love to know. And that was all I wanted to say. Hope you're doing well, you're taking care of yourselves, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.